The best of money matters. Under the radar.
You're tuning in to Money FM 89.3, and it's now time for a special on-the-go episode of Under the Radar with me, Chua Tian Tian, where we bring you on-the-ground reports of key business events, launches, features, or developers' days. Now, today we're going full throttle into the world of performance by speaking to a supercar brand known for its Raging Bull logo, and that is Automobili Lamborghini. Now, if you're a car enthusiast, you might have heard of the origin story of how Automobili Lamborghini was founded in 1963 as a result of an unpleasant exchange between two Italian car enthusiasts. Well, there are multiple variations of the story going around, but here's the gist of it all. Lamborghini's founder, Ferruccio Lamborghini, was a successful tractor manufacturer in the 1960s, and he was supposedly dissatisfied with a clutch problem with his sports car. So unhappy with the situation as a consumer, Lamborghini paid a visit to its manufacturer, where his complaints were said to be dismissed with what some reports described as a stinging response. And legend has it that it was exactly this comment from the manufacturer that gave Lamborghini the resolve to build a better sports car. Soon, the Lamborghini 350 GT emerged in 1964, and with it, a raging bull that aims to trump the prancing horse, if you get the hint. Now, that was in the 1960s. Over 6 decades had passed, and today, Automobili Lamborghini produces some of the most iconic and coveted super sports cars in the world. In the first half of 2025, the firm delivered 5,681 cars, the highest ever result for a first half, and a 2% year-on-year increase from the figure seen in 2024. But beyond the numbers, it is also an exciting time for Automobili Lamborghini as the company positions itself for a sustainable future with a fully hybrid fleet. In fact, the CEO and chairman of Automobili Lamborghini is right here in Singapore to promote the firm's new Temerario, its second model in the Lamborghini high-performance electric vehicle range. But what should we know about the new model, and how far is sustainability the key in turbocharging the Raging Bull? And what role will Asia and Singapore play in Automobili Lamborghini's next bound of growth? Well, for more, let's speak to Stefan Winkelmann, CEO and chairman of Automobili Lamborghini. He's with me at the launch of Lamborghini's latest twin-turbo V8 high-performance electrified vehicle held within Aviation Hub at Seletar Aerospace View in Singapore. All right, thanks so much for joining us today, Stefan.
You're very welcome.
And Stefan, we've briefly talked about the history of Lamborghini and how the Raging Bull and the Lamborghini 350 GT came about as what some would say a passionate retort to another supercar manufacturer in the 60s. How would you describe the evolution of the company's value proposition and business model over the years?
But for sure, it was a challenge, and it was born out of a challenge, the Lamborghini company. It had a history with up and downs, a lot of up and downs, until the late 90s when the Volkswagen Group, specifically Audi, brought the company. And then it was a much better development of the company until today, from 2 to 3 models with all the derivatives, investing a lot, not only into the product, but also into the brand. And therefore, we think that today, with the youngest and best product line we have in the history of Lamborghini, we are in the best shape ever.
Right. And, Stefan, I understand that you're here in Singapore for just about 24 hours to promote the new Temerario, which was launched last year in Pebble Beach. So this is the second model in the Lamborghini high-performance electric vehicle range. Tell us more about the Temerario and why we should keep an eye on the new model.
The Temerario is replacing the Huracan, which was our most successful super sports car if we exclude the Urus. And therefore, it has an heritage which is very important. The Temerario is a complete new design, has an engine which has never been there before, which is revving up to 10,000 RPM. And this is just the first step of what we will do over the life cycle of the Temerario. So a complete new car, new design, new engine, new everything, the third plug-in hybrid in our lineup, and this is the first step we wanted to complete by having first the Revuelto, then the Urus SA, now the Temerario as plug-in hybrid cars.
And that brings us to my next question. What significance does the Temerario play in your product lineup, be it in terms of specifications or in terms of the potential revenue or the new customers it can generate for the firm?
So in every segment we are in, we want to be the super sports car of the segment. And for sure the Temerario has this task and is fulfilling this in the best possible way. It's for sure an important car in terms of volumes, but also in terms of positioning of the brand, and also in terms of what we have in front of us and as a derivate strategy. So to have open cars, lighter cars, better performing cars. So in the lineup, it will cover a big part of the operative profit of Lamborghini.
You might have touched on that earlier, but Lamborghini said it is the first brand in the sports car segment, super sports car segment, to offer a fully hybridized lineup. So in 2023, we saw the Revuelto. 24, we have the Urus SE on top of the Temerario. How far is sustainability the key in turbocharging the raging bull?
The Revuelto is not turbocharged, it's a naturally aspirated engine. So the important is to have the best combination possible between an internal combustion engine and the hybridization. This is paramount for us, for the success of the company in terms of meeting the standards of sustainability, but also pointing out very clearly that this generation of hybrid cars is better performing than the generation before of only internal combustion engine cars.
Now let's talk about some numbers. In the first half of 2025, Lamborghini delivered some 5,600 cars, the highest ever result for a first half, and a 2% increase on the year from what we saw in 2024. Now if we look at turnover, that stands at 1.62 billion euros, in line with the level we saw a year ago. So what is your assessment of the firm's latest performance? How much of it is driven by your new hybrid plug-in lineup?
We have the big advantage of having the full availability of the Revuelto and the Urus SA. What is missing is the availability of the Temerario this year, so this is an advantage for the year 2026. So the two cars and a bit of the remaining production of the Huracan were responsible in a very positive way of the result of the first 6 months.
So if we look at regional delivery distribution, Stefan, EMEA, Europe, Middle East and Africa, that led the charge, some 2,700 vehicles. That's followed by Americas, and finally APAC, around 1,200 vehicles. So how important is APAC to Lamborghini financially? What role does Singapore play in this regard?
It's a very important role. The Asia-Pacific region, we have markets which are significant for Lamborghini, like Japan, with a tradition which is incredible of the 12-cylinder cars, but it's also the biggest market here in the Asia-Pacific region. Then China, then Korea, also Australia is very important, and India in terms of volumes is increasing and getting more and more important. Singapore is a very small market, but it was in the past always a market where you could recognize trends of what is changing. It's a market where you have a lot of expats from all over the globe, so it's also a market where you see a lot of a different type of customers. It's small also because of the high taxation. We have 340%, and this for sure is something which is increasing the prices of the cars in a very dramatic way.
Do you see Singapore as an increasingly important market given where capital is flowing and where the rich are moving?
But we look less into the market, we look more into the single customers.
Okay.
So for us, every single customer is equally important, whether he is in North America or in Singapore or in Italy. The importance is that they are very satisfied with their cars, that they are exceeding their dreams, our cars, we deliver to them. And so we think that giving the actual situation in Singapore, we will not have a big growth in the near future.
Okay. And I do understand you mentioned in this Business Insider article out in March that there is plenty of room for Lamborghini to grow its sales, given how 80 million cars are sold each year worldwide. Where are the bright spots? What are the trends you're tapping on?
So in a global market of 80 million, let's say the SUV and the super sports car high-end market is about 150,000 cars. So very, very small segment. What we see is that there are more high net worth individuals than only a decade ago. So when we speak about sports, it's more here and there some opportunities in some markets where we can add a dealer, but they are not, let's say now, big new markets which were undiscovered and all of a sudden they are, let's say, unexpectedly big. This is not happening. So we are pretty well positioned in terms of coverage around the globe, but they're here and there, some in the Americas, some in Europe, but also here some in Asia where we have opportunities.
I do want to talk a little bit more about balancing volumes with exclusivity. How do you get around that? How do you price your goods, given Lamborghini's cars are Veblen goods to begin with? Does this signify that you need to broaden your product lineups, each with an exclusive following?
No, the big task is for us that there are high investments in a very small volume world, and the technology is improving faster than in the past. The life cycles are getting shorter, so you need to have a very well-running business to reinvest in the future of the business of Lamborghini. And if you want to add a model line like we are doing with the fourth model, even more this is important in the future. And therefore, whatever we do has to be in line with the expectations or over exceeding the expectations of the customers. But our segment is not something where you have a fantasy price. Mm-hmm. We always have references with other brands and a clear positioning which may differ a bit from market to market.
And speaking of trends, speaking of pricing, I also want to talk a bit more about the increase in women drivers, women supercar drivers. You mentioned that women in South Korea are early adopters of supercars. So how do you intend to cater more Lamborghinis to women then in terms of design, performance, or price point? How important will women be in this regard?
For sure, this is an opportunity which is at the very beginning. The percentage was rising due to the introduction of the Urus. This was positive in terms of more female buyers approaching our brand. The Asians are more likely to do this than the Europeans and the Americans, but there is a global trend which is positive in terms of female drivers, and it's also true that once they drive the Urus, they're more likely also to step into the Revuelto, the Temerario.
Now, if you're just tuning in, we're in conversation with Stefan Winkelmann, CEO and Chairman of Automobili Lamborghini. Well, Stefan, Automobili Lamborghini embarked on its sustainability strategy called, pardon me if I pronounce it wrongly, it's called Dia Zone Core Tori, that is in 2021, said to be part of the largest financial undertaking for Lamborghini in its history. How far are you reaping the rewards of the move right now?
So we have fulfilled the first two steps of Direzione Cortauri. So the first one was to get the best out of the internal combustion engine only cars. And this was very successful. It was also due to the YOLO effect after COVID. And then now the second step was to hybridize all the lineup. This is fulfilled. And now the next point, so that we are concentrating on what is going to happen next. With the fourth model, whether we do it full electric or hybrid is not decided yet.
Speaking of which, I believe you are referencing Lanzador, a concept to be launched in 2029, set to be the firm's first electric car. But of course, things might have changed. It might end up being a plug-in hybrid, as you mentioned. So why was that the case? Was it because of pushback from consumers, or was it due to supply chain issues?
No, it's not decided yet, but what we are observing is that there is a flattening curve in the adoption of electric cars, and this is even more valid for the supercars of this world. So we are watching very carefully, and we have to decide whether we go plug-in hybrid or full electric in the near future.
Well, we are still talking about hybrids at this point. One day, should you move into electric vehicles, fully electric vehicles, how will the sound of your engines sound like? Will they still come with that roar as in conventional supercars?
So design and performance are the two, let's say, main reasons to buy a Lamborghini. When it comes to performance, you have the naked numbers: acceleration, top speed, lap time, braking time, and on the other hand, which is equally important, you have the emotional side of the performance. So how you feel the car, how it enters into the corners and getting out of the corner, how you feel the vibrations, and this is immediately recognizable as a Lamborghini. And sound, the sound of the engine, is a very important part of this for us and for our customers. So we will not replicate a fake sound if we do a full electric car.
Okay, at this point in time, with your current lineup, how would you assess Lamborghini's competitiveness in the hybrid and electric vehicle industry at this point?
We are in a specific part of the automotive business. I'm trying to always to make understand we are not serving mobility, but this is a dream which has to become true, and therefore, when we speak about innovation, it's about, yes, performance, design, all what is related, but when it comes to electrification, we are able to do, but it's not about doing it, it's about that it has to be emotional enough that the customers of the future are going to accept it. And this is, let's say, a crossroad between a new generation stepping in, regulations, and also the capability of Lamborghini to do a very emotional electric car.
And Stefan, as we begin to wrap up the conversation, it's been 5 years since you took over the helm at Lamborghini, for the second time, that is, after stints with Audi and Bugatti. What are some priorities you've had for the firm in 2020 when you took over, and how much of this has been achieved right now?
Today, we achieved the first two steps, to get to really use extensively the existing model lineup of the ICE cars, and to come out with the full hybridization with a completely new product line until the year 2025. This we fulfilled. The next step is to start the derivatization and to do the fourth model.
And finally, before we let you go, Stefan, what are some future plans for Automobili Lamborghini for the rest of this year and into the next? What can we expect in APAC and in Singapore?
But now we have to successfully launch the Temerario in the next months, and we have to close the year despite all the challenges which might come up. And this is not only valid for Europe, but also for the entire world, including APAC and Singapore.
I see. Thanks so much for joining us today, Stefan. That was Stefan Winkelmann, CEO and Chairman at Automobili Lamborghini. Thank you so much for joining us on Money FM 89.3.
Thank you.
And that was an on-the-go special of Under the Radar with me, Chua Tian Tian, signing off from the launch of Lamborghini's latest twin-turbo V8 high-performance electrified vehicle held within Aviation Hub as the leader aerospace view in Singapore.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.